Good morning. We are so glad that you are here today. As always, we have lots of stories to tell. We will tell stories from our trip to Iambi this last March, but I think even more important than that is the stories that we can share about how our relationship and partnership with this hospital is growing and really deepening. I wish that I forgot this letter that I had, but about a week or so ago, I received an email from Kathy Boleen, who just retired from our synod office as the coordinator of our companion synods, and she said, "Lisa, I think you're going to be surprised to see this." And deep in the files of her desk, she found a letter from Pastor Dwayne Hoven from, I want to say it was about 1994. Les, maybe you remember this. That back at that time we were just beginning the Synod's companionship with the Central Diocese in Tanzania. And Zumbro decided to send $1,800 to the hospital that was in this little village. And we just learned about, do you remember this?
Well, I don't know exactly that date, but I remember when the Synod initiated this companion synod, and that was with our good Bishop Nicholmo.
Right.
And Dwayne was sort of a part-time synod staff member for a year or so after his retirement from here.
Okay.
And I would assume he might be in the audience.
Yeah, I don't see him yet.
Ask him. But he would have been instrumental in encouraging gifts to this companion synod.
Yeah. Well, it was just interesting because in the very beginning, here we sent this money to support this hospital that we have now really grown to develop this partnership with. So I think that the Holy Spirit has been a part of all that we are doing from the very beginning. And so for that, we thank God. I want to give you a quick introduction of the folks who are here today that went with us. Each of them will be speaking today. I don't know what is up with my technology. Pastor Jason is not here to fix it for me today. Bob and Sue Jenkins, traveled many, many times to Tanzania. George and Marge Klee went along with this year, and there's me. There's Gaspar, who works with Bob and always travels with us. Paula Crago is visiting her daughter, who's a Lutheran Volunteer Corps member right now, so she is not here. And then at the very end is Bashiri, and Bashiri did not travel from the U.S. with us, but he is our driver, and when we are in Tanzania has become just as much a part of our group while we are there as any of the rest of us are. And so Bashiri lives in Arusha, which is where the airport is. He doesn't live in the village, but as we'll share later, has been instrumental in helping to deepen our partnership as we continue to move on. Bashiri has a 10-year-old daughter named Aisha, and yesterday he had to rush her to the hospital, and she has typhoid. But they think she's getting all of the medications, and this morning he said she was doing better, but you could pray for her. Her name is Aisha. While we were gone, we created a video and sent it back to worship. So hopefully you were here in worship that day and you saw it. I promise you, it only made it onto the internet because we prayed as hard as we possibly could that technology was going to work. But I think it helps give you a real good look around the hospital. So even if you've seen it, enjoy again this tour of Iambi Hospital. Oh, for crying out loud. Good morning. Good grief. Seriously. If you were at the first service, I had major microphone malfunctions from the very beginning. So such is the way it is. Sue, why don't you step up and do your piece, and we'll come back to the video.
Yeah, feel free.
Go ahead.
In Tanzania, they say, be free. So I put together a little handout, and if you look at the page that says facts and figures, we heard it Pastor Lisa worked very hard to line up some conversations before we went to the village. So we landed at the airport and then stayed in Arusha for a day and a half. And during that day and a half, we visited the ALMC, the Arusha Lutheran Medical Center, which is the hospital that Dr. Mark Jacobson has really founded, been doing the fundraising for. ALMC is a hospital that all of you would recognize as a hospital. It's a very modern facility. It's, I think, 3 or 4 stories tall. And he is able to then host residents from Europe and from the United States. So Western, close to Western standards. And the other conversation we had that day was at the ELCT offices. Should I?
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. The Evangelical Lutheran Church in Tanzania. That's how important they consider this partnership, that we were there with the folks who run the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Tanzania, and we heard many, they gave us a lot of information about how our effort fits in with their goals for the country. About 40% of all healthcare in Tanzania is provided by church-based organizations. And of all the healthcare in Tanzania, roughly 15% from the Lutheran Church. So it's a hugely important effort. Tanzania, as a government entity, is divided into 30 regions, and also into 169 districts. So you can sort of compare it to our state and then congressional districts, perhaps. What we heard a lot about on this trip was that Iambi Lutheran Hospital, which is currently a council-designated hospital, the council refers to the Christian Social Service Council, so the CSSC. And they have been asked to become a district-designated hospital. This means that the government of Tanzania would recognize Iambi Lutheran Hospital as the hospital for the Mkala district of the Singida region. And I know that it's just so many Swahili words for some of you, but if you think of the map of Tanzania, kind of put your finger down right in the middle and go left a little bit. You're in Singida region. And I've written the population statistics. This is right out of Wikipedia, folks. 2012 numbers, but the district that Iambi Lutheran Hospital would serve is about 188,000 people. So fairly comparable to Rochester, actually, except we're talking a large area of land. The ELCT, as you can see, supports 24 hospitals. The distinction between a referral hospital, which would be a hospital in the Western sense, CT scans, several specialty MDs, full services, right? And then the regional hospitals would be comparable to one of our large regional hospitals, say maybe Fairview, as opposed to the University of Minnesota hospitals, right? At this point, we'd like to get Iambi up to district hospital status, and my model for that is Cannon Falls. Okay, so between 70 and 100 total beds, x-ray facilities, wide range of services that they offer. And the government has this public-private partnership. So just like our medical facilities have to meet several different standards by different agencies, the district hospitals have to meet both government standards and church standards, as well as the professional standards, say, for the nursing board, in order to qualify for district hospital status. What this would mean for Iambi is an immediate increase in their professional staffing levels. Now, there's a number of challenges associated with that, and I can speak to that a little bit later. But I want you to just look for a moment at the numbers on the bottom of the page. So the year 2012, which was the first year that we visited, by the way, if you've lost track, this was our 5th visit to the hospital. Thank you, because you are making this ministry possible. But you can see that the number of deliveries or births is soaring, okay? Now they have the same physical plant that they started with in 2012. So they are really facing some serious challenges, and if they make district hospital status, which they almost certainly will because the government wants it so badly, we may see those numbers increase. I think the video you have.
I think it's going to work. We got it here from the middle of Tanzania. We ought to be able to get it to go now. Hold on. So close.
Hospital. We'd like to take you inside the campus and give you a little tour of this mission partner of ours.
So we are here in Central Supply, and this is my friend Afrata. And Afrata keeps track of bulky items like linens, sheets, patient gown. So we are in pharmacy, and Mulaney is the pharmacist, right? Okay, and you can see that she keeps track of all the medicines. Mulaney also keeps track of sterile supplies, like suture material, needles, saline solution, and surgical gloves.
This is the hospital lab in Iambi. This is where the patient's blood is drawn and comes into the laboratory, and the lab does all the testing basically in this room. Most of what they do is serology and microscopy. Joyce and Zola is the lead technician in the hospital lab, and Rhoda Sonlin is one of the technicians that works in the lab.
This is the main operating theater at Iambi Hospital. We have this one and a small procedure room. One of the key procedures is cesarean section, which is what's finishing the baby. This small 75-bed hospital, basically one OR, did 22 C-sections last month and 35 deliveries. As this hospital progresses into district hospital status, there will be an expanded list of surgical procedures that will be expected.
My name is Young, principal of the school.
This is a new computer lab. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 terminals here. We're trying to set up a program about introduction to heart sounds so the nurses can learn about heart sounds in different conditions.
We are standing in front of the palliative care unit. You can see that sign, and it's directed by Joyce Matinda that visited several 2 years ago.
I want to just pause this quickly. How many of you remember about 3 years ago when we put together those AIDS hospice kits on God's Work Our Hands Sunday? Lots and lots of you helped. And that's what you will be seeing Joyce passing out here.
Yesterday we went out with her on 2 home visits to her hospice patients. She has 900 plus hospice patients in her district that she sees. We saw 2 people that were suffering from chronic illnesses and some rather acute episodes.
That wraps up our tour of Iambi. We hope you have gotten a better idea of what it's like here at this hospital, nestled in the middle of central Tanzania. Yeah. The folks at Iambi that you've seen pictured and who work at the hospital teach us every day that following Jesus is about being faithful when times are tough. We've left Iambi Hospital now, and we are on our way back home, but we've stopped first at Tarangire National Park. It is simply beautiful here. So we're going to enjoy God's creation, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Isn't that just beautiful? It's always easy to come home, right? All right, Mars, I think you are up.
Next, if I get,
There you go.
a live mic. I first want to tell you something that I'm sure you know, but Lisa's a very talented leader, and we're very lucky to have her on these trips. I'm going to talk a little bit about Southeast Minnesota Synod partnerships. There are 2 churches from Rochester that are partnered at Iambi. We with Iambi Hospital inpatient primarily, and then there's Our Savior's Lutheran that is partnered with the palliative care program. They provide, as you saw in the video, palliative care services to a huge number of patients, and in a large rural area that surrounds Nakubi Village. I had an opportunity to work with the palliative care director, Joyce Matinda, on request by Kathy Boleen, and in so doing I had an opportunity to take a look at how our partnerships are working. The main and primary focus that the Southeast Minnesota Synod has emphasized all along to its churches that are doing mission trips is that we focus primarily on relationship building. And this sometimes can get a little sticky because we all would like to do something very active and sort of interventional. But relationship building is very important. But in this opportunity that I had working with the palliative care program, I saw another application of that relationship building that is sort of an expansion of what the primary focus would be. And that occurred when Kathy asked me to work with Joyce on developing a questionnaire for the food packet program that Our Saviors is involved with. And some information is needed, some data is needed by Floyd Hammer from Outreach Africa that sponsors this program so that he can apply for grants from big companies like maybe Cargill that can help sustain the food packet program. So,
did you explain what the food packets are?
Yeah, the food packets are packets that provide some nutritional supplements, some protein supplements in addition to a grain. Like they had been using corn here from the US and soy flour, but it's now being changed a little bit to using the maize that grows in Tanzania, along with the mineral and vitamin packets from here. So this needs to be a sustainable program, and what's happened is I see relationships building between the Synod and Our Saviors and Outreach Africa as they collaborate to make this food packet program work. And I thought that is an extension of the initial primary focus that has been supposed to be for the mission trips that go to Tanzania and wherever for the Southeast Minnesota Synod. And it's a collaborative process that's really important to make something sustainable. And I think we need to look at that from our perspective from Zumbro and who we relate to. And you've heard of some of the relationships that are being developed from what Sue mentioned a little while ago. But we have a really good initial working relationship that's been built over the last 5 years with the staff at Iambi Hospital, and that was very evident to us and very joyful for us because you could see the trust level building from what they were in conversation with us about, and also in the kind of requests that they were now starting to ask from the team. So this has been a very deliberate and long process over 5 years to get to this point. But we also need to look beyond that, I think, to other working relationships that may help provide a collaborative effort. And working with ELCT, the health department there, with an extension of that is one of their projects called MIMS, which we've worked with in trying to procure the equipment to supply the hospital wing that was built. That's a new organization that we're working with. We work with Global Health Ministries, with the Synod, with the Central Diocese, and this year we met with African Smile, which you're going to hear a little bit later from Bob about, and this is an exciting opportunity for some collaboration. So it's important that we don't work with Iambi in a silo perspective, where it's just they and us, but that we can work with other people that are also involved at the hospital to provide a much more sustainable network to support the ongoing work of the hospital.
So Marge told you about the partnerships, and what it really does take is a village of NGOs to really make things happen and change in God's world, and I think Iambi Hospital is a perfect example of that. Marge mentioned Outreach Africa, or Outreach, they're based in Iowa. Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, Global Health Ministries, the Southeastern Minnesota Synod, and I'm going to tell you about three things, really. Africa Smile, the X-ray room, the washing machines, and then a little surprise. So this is from the webpage of Africa Smile. Africa Smile started in 2004 following a visit, not unlike our first visit 5 years ago. A group of Lutherans from Oregon went to Singida, and they toured around the region, and they took a trip up to Nkungi village, and the man who formed Africa Smile, Don Etzel, and the pastor who was with them, Gary Blumenthal, fell in love with this village, as we all have. And they said, we want to help them. So they formed this organization called Africa Smile. SMILE stands for Singida Medical Improvement and Learning Environment. And their mission is building things. So the founder is a contractor. There's a pastor who's retired, Gary Blumenthal, and then a Bill something or other, who is Pavlich, who is a retired contractor as well. And they have been going every year since 2004, building stuff, okay? So they do water systems. They built the new hospital wing. They were there this time building houses for the leper colony that's about 5 kilometers away. And what they do is they work in the village. So they have 3 missions: the hospital, the leprosarium, and the village. And every year, they decide what they're going to do. We had known about Africa Smile, but had never met them. We'd heard of them. We'd heard stories about them, and I won't go into those stories. But God was pushing us together to be with them, okay? So we ran into Don Etzel, or Marge did, at the airport when we arrived. And then we got there, and we were in the village together. And in fact, as Sue and I were leaving, the day after everybody else left, there they were leaving. We were being forced together. And one of the places we were being forced together was at a dinner at the Pastor Msingi's house and his wife, Crystal Lumba. Pastor Msingi is the retired pastor of St. Wanzalea and one of the elders in the village. And he invited them, Africa Smile, to dinner. And Crystal Lumba invited us to dinner. And they didn't communicate. How much has that happened in your life? So we were pretty worried about being a big crowd, and Africa Smile was pretty worried about being a big crowd. But anyway, they said, no, all come. And in great Tanzanian African fashion, we had a wonderful meal together where we actually got to talk one-on-one with the team from Africa Smile, because they were staying in a little different place. And we actually did a lot of thinking and relationship building with another U.S. organization. So it's about building bridges of understanding, not just between us and Iambi Hospital in Nkungi Village, but also with other NGOs that work in the area. We knew there were a list of things that could be done construction-wise. So Sue and I went over to the house where Africa Smile was staying, and I brought a list of things. You cannot read this, but this is what I do when I'm there. So just as the message is, you don't have to be a doctor to go. I did engineering, and I'm not an engineer, okay? And thinking about what Africa Smile could do at the hospital construction-wise. Because one thing we learned from them is they build things. They have not the faintest idea about medicine. All right? They have no idea that a building needs stuff. A hospital building needs stuff. They really, and we were an answer to their prayers. So I made a list of things for them to do. Go to the next slide, Lisa. And I even drew out a plan. So this is the X-ray room. Some of you know, and Rich Vetter knows this because he's been there. They have an X-ray facility which has been condemned for 15 years at least. Not up to standards for many different reasons. And last year they got a report from the Tanzania Atomic Energy Commission on how to improve the X-ray room. And so I sat down with that plan and drew out a work plan for Africa Smile to rebuild the X-ray room. That was what I did for my week there. And Don Etzel stayed on. He just went home, came back to the States last Monday, and got all of that done. That was not part of their plan, but because of our visit there and being there together, they basically have rebuilt the X-ray room. And the X-ray room is ready now for a much better X-ray machine, okay? So one of the main things that the hospital has needed for 5 years or more is now actually happening, in part because the hospital works with Africa Smile, we work with the hospital and Global Health Ministries, and we can see a future where a modern X-ray machine is at Iambi Hospital. Now, the second thing that Africa Smile did, beyond their remit, if you will, is we knew that one of the main hospital needs was a washing machine, washing machines. They used to do hand washing of all the sheets in cold water. And Delphine, the hospital matron, the very first day we were there, 5 years ago, she said, we need washing machines. So this year, we finally got them washing machines. And what it took was Africa Smile to rewire the laundry, dig up the floor, put in the plumbing, and that's all been done. The first washing machine is there, it's working, and 2 more are on their way. And Lisa mentioned Bashiri. He is great. He's a wonderful man. He has personally delivered these washing machines. Now the surprise. So if you go back a slide, Lisa, on this picture, I didn't know this, but there's a room here. I just drew a line, but there's a room here, and here's the lab, okay? And while Lisa was building or preparing the video, she said, Bob, I need a video of you in the lab. That's where that video came from. And then when that was done, I asked Joyce, the lab supervisor, where were the pipettes and the pipette men we had brought? Because I wanted to know if they were being used or stored correctly. And she said, oh, I'll go get them. So she walks out the lab door, across the hall, over to that room. And in that room was this. They've been telling us all along they needed a hematology machine and a chemistry machine. And all along, the hospital actually had one, or 2. They had a C4 counter to count T cells for AIDS, and a chemistry machine to monitor enzymes for AIDS patients. And that was in a separate room. We've been going there 5 years. I'm a laboratory guy. I've walked by that door 100 times. And there they were. So one of the other things we've accomplished is understanding what they actually have, what the hospital can run. And now the challenge is to get them the reagents to do the kind of tests that the doctors and nurses at the hospital will use in the future. So I'll hand it over to George.
So part of our mission, was building relationships. And I think another part is sort of managing expectations as to, what can we really accomplish with this partnership that we have. So my background is with laboratory medicine and also previously with engineering. So I was trying to take sort of a systems type approach as we were looking at some of the things that were going on there and trying to see how do we bring them to how do we integrate with them to maybe improve some of their healthcare delivery that was going on. Looking at the laboratory, you know, it was a nice clean place, but if you try to compare it to the standards of what we would expect in a medical center, you know, they had no procedure manuals, they have no certification, they do not go through method validation before they start a procedure, and they run no quality control. So that was a little bit of a surprise to me, I think, in some ways. And then I started thinking about managing expectations, and you know, this is Africa, it's Tanzania. Is this the standard of practice? That's what's going on. Before I left to go over there, I've been working with a group here in the United States out of Philadelphia that is called the Clinical Laboratory Standards Institute. And they have formed a partnership, it's called the Global Health Partnership, with Tanzania and many other countries in Africa as part of their global outreach program. And I'm surprised that they have actually developed the first Tanzanian laboratory policy. It's a national policy that's supposed to be implemented throughout the country. They also have a program going on where they're working with 6 national and zonal laboratories in Tanzania to improve operations, implement quality management systems, and work towards compliance with international laboratory standards. So the expectation that they would do some of these things is there. They do have a program where they will send people for on-site mentoring of the program. So I had taken along with me the glossy brochures for that and given it to the hospital administrator, Joshua, to try to stimulate the idea that maybe there are resources locally that you should be involved with to try to help improve some of those things that are going on. But while we were there, we thought, well, we might as well try to get something initiated with this. And one of the things that we did was Julie Hansen, who's in the audience here, is a resident from Mayo who spent some time over there. She and I met with Joyce, the laboratory director, and had brought to them some glucose meters, that one from Global Health and another one from Mayo Clinic that we had there. The one from Mayo happened to have controls that came with it. And we tried to explain to them that maybe you want to run a control, and that was a foreign concept, to check to see if the meter's really working before you report the results. And so we actually developed a little quality control chart there that has time on the horizontal each day that they would run it, and then the value on the y-axis that would give you a dotted line saying this is, keep it within these numbers. You know, if it goes below this, you got a problem. If it goes above this, it's a higher problem. She seemed to be pretty receptive to it. The question was, the amount of control material we brought would only run for a few weeks. What she's doing after that, I don't know. We hope to be able to try to get them some more material in the future. I think that they seemed receptive to it, but it was very foreign concepts. And it raised a question to me, you know, where we've been told through the various oversight bodies that all initiatives should come from the local hospital, that we shouldn't be bringing, you know, initiatives to them. But yet, if you're looking at trying to integrate them to the expectations of even the Tanzanian government, I think we do need to start to make awareness and doing some issues as to how do we relate to them to help to bring them to this higher level. And I think part of the very encouraging thing that I saw is when we met with the ELCT, the Tanzanian Health Department from the Evangelical Lutheran Church. They had, at least 2 of the people on the faculty they had there were very interested in trying to do some type of integration across the various hospitals and ways of setting priorities as to what do you do first. The idea, you know, of Gantt charts or going through, you know, program management seemed to be a little foreign to them. We also brought up for discussion with them the idea of maybe benchmarking, you know, one hospital against another hospital to compare things. I think it would be very important because they were talking about trying to elevate the Iambi Hospital from just being a regional hospital to become a district hospital. which means that they would be taking on many more patients. They have like 2 doctors now that would be in it, and it would go up to like 12 or something like that. It's a much higher number, and the same number of nurses. The government would hire these people and bring them in, but yet the idea of doing some type of strategic plan, how do we get to there from here, was not on the table for discussion, and it seemed to be hard to get them to start thinking along those lines. And maybe that's something that we can help them to look at. You know, how can we work little steps at a time to get there? But it's coming rapidly. You know, they were expecting that within a year they will be a district hospital, and it's a big major change. But the idea of trying to do that was very foreign to them, so it was hard to go through that. Okay.
As you all know, that I was born in Tanzania. I grew up in Moshi, and Bob was the opportunity to come and see my mom, who is 100 years old. I have had 3 time opportunities to visit Iambi as a member of Zumbro Church Iambi Hospital Mission, and this has been very blessing to me. And I would like to thank all the members of Zumbro Iambi Task Force for giving me the opportunity to be part of this team. While the main objective of this mission is to provide material support to improve quality of care, the spiritual component of this mission is equally important. The Zumbro Iambi mission has really strengthened the spirituality not only of the people working and living around Iambi Hospital, but also of the mission members that we gain through daily evening devotions. When at Iambi, Pastor Lisa led Sunday service amazingly in Swahili, and this picture display. Sorry, can you go back one slide?
To the devotions?
No, to the Bible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So this picture displays, you can see there's an English and Swahili Bibles and a notebook that she used to prepare for her sermon. Of course, she also needed a cup of coffee and a Swahili instructor, who I can proudly announce here, that was me. Let's go to the next picture. The next one. This picture shows her praying during the service, but unfortunately she forgot to rehearse the way African pastors kneel at the podium. As a result, all members of the congregation now know what is her shoe size number. Nonetheless,
I hope you can see this. Look at how silly my feet look.
Nonetheless, sorry. Yeah, she did a great job in singing Swahili hymns, as displayed by the next picture. She did a very good job singing Swahili hymns. So the main message of her sermon actually was about the point that even though Zumbro Church and Iambi are very far apart, the Zumbro Iambi mission has brought us closer. So I would like to close by saying that Zumbro Church is a true neighbor of Iambi Hospital, and I believe Jesus will say that too. So I'd like to thank you, and God bless you as you continue supporting the Zumbro mission.
So you should know that Gaspar started teaching me a little Swahili before we left for Iambi this year. But I quickly had to learn that I was to call him professor throughout the trip. And he was a very good professor. And I had an assistant professor, was Bashiri, and the entire 6-hour or so drive that it takes to get from Arusha, where we flew in, to the village, I practiced the Swahili over and over and over again, and Gaspar was so patient with me, and he's a very good teacher. And probably leading in Swahili is one of the most fun things I've ever done. My kids think I need to get a life because I thought it was so exciting, but it was fun. So now we are going to teach you, and I have a professor here to help me, okay? All right. So I have shared our mission statement with the congregation outside of the hospital every time that we have been there. But this year I shared it in Swahili, and so I don't want you to just sit and take information in here. You too are going to learn some Swahili. So, are you ready? Are you going to play with me here? Okay. So I will say this, and Gaspar will correct me, and then you will repeat. This is just how it goes. All right. Safari yetu ya imani. Safari yetu ya imani. Inutuwezesha. Okay, so that's now this is the real text. Oh. There's A after N. Which one? N. Inatuwezesha. Yeah. Okay. But that is our journey of faith. Imani is peace, though. Imani leads us. Okay. Kujenga daraja la kuelewa na amani. Okay, we'll go a little bit here. They're just beginners. Okay. Kujenga daraja la kuelewa na amani. Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay. Kusaidia na kuhudumia kwa uadilifu. All right, what did they just say? Leads up to build. That's the reach out with compassion, right? And na kushirikiana. Tumaini ya Yesu. Oh, of Jesus, the hope of Jesus. Pretty good. So we're going to try this. And okay, I'll do each line and then you'll copy. Then we're going to do the whole thing, okay? All right. You got this. Safari yetu ya imani inatuwezesha. Safari yetu ya imani inatuwezesha. Kujenga daraja la kuelewa na amani. Kusaidia na kuhudumia kwa uadilifu. Na kushirikiani na kushirikiana tumaini ya Yesu. Tumaini ya Yesu. Oh, they're very good, aren't they? All right, so yeah, you do. Our journey of faith leads us to build bridges of understanding and peace, to reach out with compassion and share the hope of Jesus. Now, won't that be something? Pastor Vern's going to return, and I'm going to have it in Swahili at the end of every worship service. We'll see how that goes. All right, are you ready for the whole thing? All right, here we go. Safari yetu ya imani inatuwezesha kujenga daraja la kuelewa na amani, kusaidia na kuhudumia kwa uadilifu na kushirikiani tumaini ya Yesu. Very good. Well done. All right. Well, that was just for fun, but now you can come with us because y'all know how to speak Swahili. All right, I want to, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. I don't know what's up with my computer, but we have some special guests who are with us today. So Julie and Musa, will you come on up here, please? So how many years ago was this Good Earth Village trip? 3 or 4, like 4, something like that. Several years ago, Good Earth Village took a trip of youth from the youth young adults from the Southeast Minnesota Synod over to Tanzania to partner with the youth leaders that were in the Central Diocese in Tanzania. And to make a very long story short, Julie went on the trip with Good Earth Village, and Musa is from Nkungi Village. And in August, Julie and Musa got married at Good Earth Village. And they live here in Rochester now. Julie is a resident at the Mayo Clinic with a dream of returning to Iambi Hospital to be a physician there at some point in her career. And her husband Musa is from the village, and they were in Nkungi when we were there in March. Unfortunately, we left just before their big Tanzanian wedding celebration, which I know had lots of dancing and all sorts of good things. Anyhow, they have really become our partners in all of this work that we do too, and our friends. But what I asked Musa to respond to is something that Bob and I read about a lot and think about, and that is, what is it like when teams like us go in to a rural village? Because there's a lot of literature out there that will tell you that short-term missions don't really do any good. And in fact, sometimes they do more harm for the people that you're serving than they do good. And so we work really hard to make sure that we are creating a long-term relationship and partnership with the people in the village. And we know we mess up every time we're there and we do something wrong because the learning curve is so steep. But I have asked Musa because he's from the village, to just share a little bit about what it's like when us crazy people come in.
Good morning. Yeah, thank you. Actually, I would just like to give you a little bit information about the Zumbro group, or sometimes when they're there. Actually, we really thank God so much for having you, group from Zumbro, and also supporters from here, because actually you are doing a very amazing job over there. We have been having a lot of some need over there, but since we have been friendly with Zumbro, actually it's a lot of need you have been helping there. So we really thank you so much, and we really appreciate on what you are doing there. But also the other thing I'll just maybe try to say is just to congratulate you too for taking a step and trying to have that kind of Jesus heart and think about helping those people over there, because that it's a village or it's a place really still need a lot of help, because it's a real an hospital which are just missing a lot of things, and that just caused a lot of death to so many people, especially kids and other people. But we hope that God will just continue to use you and also to continue to help Iambi Hospital. So we really thank you so much, and may God bless you. Thank you so much.
All right, so since we have returned, there have been 2 really big celebrations, and I bring them up today not because I think they're only happening because of the work that we are doing, but the work that we're doing is a huge part of making these things happen that God is calling us to do. And so since we've been going to Iambi, there's been this great, big, huge, beautiful building on the campus built by African Smile that has been sitting empty, just completely empty, because the building was made, but the hospital had no funds to purchase the supplies. And so if you remember, a couple of years ago, we started raising money for those supplies, and pole-pole, as they say in Tanzania, it takes a very long time to get all the right partnerships and everything figured out. But we have now purchased all of the supplies to fill that medical wing with what they need to open that up, which, I mean, you saw the birth numbers. It is so important that they get this greater space. So this was last Sunday. That's Bishop Alex, who's the bishop of the Central Diocese. And everyone from the bishop's staff and everyone from the village gathered, and they dedicated that brand new wing. And so there's still a few supplies that are on order to arrive, but they will be able to use it now as they head into their busy season, because it's been dedicated by the bishop and is filled with supplies that all of you helped purchase. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And there also was a graduation of the nursing school. Over the years, they have started this nursing school, what is this, 2.5 years ago maybe? About 2.5 years ago. And it's one of the highest priorities for the diocese. We have a stronger partnership with the hospital intentionally than the nursing school, but have still provided many textbooks and mannequins and teaching supplies for the nursing school. And just a few weeks ago, they had their first ever graduation of their first class of nurses ready to go out and serve. And it's a big deal. This picture's hard to see, but there's the bishop and the bishop's assistants, all sorts of pastors, and all of those nursing school graduates. And so the work that we're doing is really helping to reach out into the greater areas of the country, because there is a shortage of nurses, and these nurses are being trained now at Iambi. So thank you for that. We have time for maybe just a couple questions and then a little bit more to share. Any questions before we move on to our last piece?
Well, I see you on these two Epson projectors. I assume they're 220 volts different sites.
Yep. Sue's going to talk about what's next and what the needs are. Come on up, Sue. Any other questions? We're gonna talk about that. Okay.
So we've been giving you a lot of information. What I want to do in just a few minutes is try to convey something of the excitement of our visit. One of the things that was really exciting for me this time, Pastor Henry Molo has been appointed by the ELCT Central Diocese Office to be the hospital accountant. And his English is pretty good. And so I was able to sit down with him on Wednesday, and we sat down and we charted, that is, made a graph of the hospital revenue cycle for the last 3 years. So this is, so many of you come up and say, I want to go, but I'm not medical and I'm just not sure what I would do. My background in having my own clinic, and I just think, again, the leading of the Holy Spirit. So when I was not hired at Mayo, after Bob got a job here, that was a huge personal challenge for me, and it was for many years. But as you know, I've got my own clinic here. And I just think, looking back, there were so many pieces that God was putting together. Because now when I go, I really don't do child psychiatry. That's not their need. I do hospital administration. And so sitting down and showing them that if they graph their total revenue cycle month by month, right? And what we see is what's typical in a lot of medical facilities. They have a very slow 3 months, which is December, January, February. And then it starts to pick up the number of people in the hospital and their hospital revenue May through October. Well, their hospital census triples in August relative to January, and their revenue doubles. When they get to their slow months, January, February, March, they can't always pay their hospital employees because the revenue is so low. So we talked about Joseph in Exodus, and that Joseph had to store up the grain for the Egyptians and the Israelites during the 7 fat years in order to pay it out during the 7 lean years. And of course, Pastor Henry is like right there. So it's just, again, it's just sort of handing them some new tools to think about things in a little different way. 4%, only 4% of Tanzanians have college degrees. So there are many things that you all could walk in and see and go, have you ever thought about doing it this way? I want to read you, these are matron's words. Yes, I know we're short on time. But I want to read you matron's words. Each time you come, we are improving. You bring supplies and teach us how to use supplies. Please come for a longer period of time. We learn from you to be transparent. We are always praying for you so you can explain for Iambi Hospital what our problems and needs are. Then it is easy for you to explain to others so they can be part of Iambi. If you sometimes see things you don't like, please try to understand us. Tell your church that we love them and are praying for them, and please communicate with us. So, you have the handout. Now this is not our punch list. In no way is this what we're asking for. What we do need, though, because we went and we had this great opportunity with Africa Smiles to be there, to get the work done for the washing machine, the laundry area, and for the x-ray room, we spent more money than we had, and we really need $1,500. So if any of you are inspired today, that's what we'd like. What I'm asking for on that list, that overly long list, is please pray for discernment. Because to have the hospital get to district status, we have a number of needs. God is not expecting us to do all that this year. But please pray for discernment for the committee, that we work in the wisdom of God.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. These are a couple oxygen concentrators, is that what they're called, doctors? That are the last things to buy on our list for what the hospital would like right now. So we needed $2,500 or $2,800 to purchase these two. $1,500 was given a couple of days ago towards this. So if God is calling you to help out, know that that is one way that you could help out with an immediate need. But more than anything, please know that the hospital staff sees all of you who they've never met as just as much a partner as those of us who travel there. So thank you for your compassion. Let's pray. God, thank you for this ministry partnership that you have led us to. Thank you for the journey that we are on. Thank you for being with us wherever we go. Lord, bless our friends at Iambi Hospital. Fill them with a sense of your peace. Fill them with wisdom and compassion as they care for their patients. Help us, Lord, as we continue to discern how you might best use us to partner with them in their mission. Bless our friends. Bless our partnership. Bless our work that we do in your name. Amen. Thank you.